This conference will now be recorded.
Chadurmukha Samarambham Vagbhadacharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryandam Vande Guru Paramparam Ragadirogan Sadadanushaktan Asheshakaya Prasudan Asheshan Aulsukya Aradidan Jakhana Yopurva Vaidyaya Namostu Tasmai. So we were discussing many things related to the guna and many other related aspects in our earlier sessions on Dravyadi Vidnyani. Yeah? The point is, Ayurveda makes a serious effort to connect Purusha with the Prapancha and establish their homogeneity. Isn't it? It is a well-known fact or well-known matter. Similarly, it establishes the homogeneity of Sharira and Dravya also. Actually, this is not a philosophical or ideological discourse, but is a real life experience. So that should be in our minds. With that idea, we move forward to our next shloka. It is like this. Jagatyevam anaushadham na kinjid vidyate dravyam vashan nanarthayogayoho. We will see the shloka once again. Jagatyevam anaushadham na kinjid vidyate dravyam vashan nanarthayogayoho. Evam jagati kinjid dravyam anaushadham na vidyate. Evam jagati kinjid dravyam anaushadham na vidyate. Evam. Evam means thus, or according to the points that we were discussing until this time, or according to the agama, all these meanings can be attributed to that evam. What is that? We will come to it. First we will see that order. Jagati. Jagati means in this jagat, in this world. Kinjid dravyam, any dravya. Anaushadham, anaushadham, which is not an aushadha, is called anaushadham. Na vidyate, does not exist. Such a dravya does not exist. See it again. Evam, thus. When we start a statement with thus, it obviously is connected with what we were discussing so far. What was we discussing? We were discussing about the fivefold division of all dravyas, parthivam, apyam, etc., etc. The fivefold division of all dravyas. That is what we were discussing. And that description or discussion was based on their guna and karma. So if you take that into consideration, when you take it as an upadesha or an agama, according to that agama, anaushadham dravyam, a dravya which can be considered as not an aushadha, na vidyate. There is no case of such a dravya. So this is a pradijna. This is a prastavana. This is a pradijna. But it is a conditional clause. It is a conditional clause. What is the condition? That is the second part. What is it? Vashan nanarthayogayoho. Nanarthayogayoho vasad. Nanarthayogayoho vasad. Nanarthayogayoho. Nanartha. Nanayoga. Nanartha. Nanayoga. Nana means different or diverse. So, because of the merit of different arthas and yogas, because of the merit of the different arthas and yogas, or when the merit of different arthas and yogas are considered, that is a condition. There is no dravya in this jagat which is anaushadha. That is the pradijna. So, two terms, artha and yoga, of diverse types, diverse or different types. Artham, artham means artham iti prayojanam. Artham prayojanam. Yogaha, yogaha yukti. Yojana, yojana. Yuktistu yojana. Then what is prayojana? Prayojanam indicates the possibilities, the potential. What all things can be done? What are the potential utilities? That is artham. And what is yogam? Yogam reflects the appropriate usage or application of that potential. Appropriate usage or application of that potential. Appropriate means according to the context, according to the demand of the time and space. That is the appropriateness. So that is known as yoga. These two words are very important, this artham and yoga, in a broader canvas. We will come to it. So taking this Nana Arthayogam, Arthayogayoho Vashad means because of the merit of Jagati evam anaushadam na kinjit vidyate dravyam. We have seen many types of dravyas which were precisely classified into 5 categories: Parthivam, Apyam, etc. And all such dravyas, the interesting observation is that into that regard related to that fivefold classification is that everything, every karya dravyas will come under that division. Everything, none ashesham, none exempted. And we have seen that all such dravyas divided into 5 categories have got artham, prayoga sadhyata, potential, and many things are directly mentioned. Gauravasthairya sanghadopachayavaham, that is a potential. Parthivam Gauravasthairya Sangha. So it can deliver these functions. It is the potential of a Parthiva Dravya. That is very clearly mentioned, and many other things can be inferred from that, which may not be directly mentioned. Then, taking that point into consideration, we can presume that there will not be any dravya in the Jagat with no potential use. With no potential use. But does that mean that all the dravyas around are aushadhas? That is a big question. Here the aushadham, that is another point. We will come to it later. So does it mean that all the materials, all the karya dravyas around can be used as aushadha? That is the question. When these potentials are explored and utilized with a sense of context within the framework of time and space, that is what we call as yukti. Actually, it is the samyak prayoga. Then this can be used as a tool. This can be used as a tool for roga shamana. Actually, this is not an observation of Vagbhada, Hridaya Vagbhada. Charaga observed has documented it. Sushruta has documented it. Charaga's documentation in this regard goes like this. Anenopadeshena na anaushadhi bhudam jagadi kinjit dravyam upalabhyade tam tam yuktim artham cha tam tam abhipretya. Sushruta also documents the observation. Anena nidarshanena na anaushadhi bhudam jagadi kinjit dravyam asti. So the panchabhautikata of dravyas, that makes these dravyas having or possessing infinite possibilities. Possibilities which are innumerable. But that again, that doesn't mean anything. Only when that potential, innumerable possibilities are appropriately used, samyak yogam, then only it is worth pursuing, beneficial, yukti. And that act of application is known as yoga. That is known as yoga. So that is why a properly made, formulated combination of aushadha is known as an aushadha yoga. There is some appropriateness in that combination which provides some sort of a ready reckoner yukti. That aspect is mentioned. Prathama kabala bodhya sarpisha churna goyam. Isn't it? So many things are embedded. And that is why if you look into the descriptions of Charaka, Acharya Charaka, you can find that he was literally obsessed with this yoga or yukti. He repeats that the Vaidya should be yuktitnya. Vaidya should be yuktitnya. Yogo Vaidya Gunanam. It is not just about remembering Aushadha yogas, but it is about the proper, appropriate, samyag usage, application of the Aushadhas. In the first chapter itself, we will find that Kim punaryo vijaniyad oshadhihi sarvadha bhishak yogamasam tu yo vidyad yogamasam tu yo vidyad deshakalopapadidam purusham vikshya satnyeyo bhishak uttama bhishak is that person who can act, apply, prayoga. How purusham vikshya, the highest level of customization. Deshakalopapadidam yogam. So it is as determined, as demanded by the desha and kala. A duryuktam aushatham anarthayopapadyate is going to act for danger, casualty. Anarthaya upapadyate. So many things. Charaka is so keen. Yogad abhi visham tikshna uttamam bheshajam bhaved. Isn't it? Yogad, prayogad. By application, improper application makes an aushadham visham. Proper application makes a visham aushadham. Tasmanna bhishaja yuktam yukti bahyena bheshajam. Yukti bahyena bhishaja yuktam bheshajam. Don't go for it. He wants. Don't go for the risk of consuming a medicine prescribed or administered by a Vaidya who is having no sense of yukti. Yukti bahyena bhishaja yuktam. So he repeats the same idea again and again. Tishtatyubari yuktitnyaha siddhir yuktau pradishthita. So basically, Ayurveda is a branch which is discussing about the artha and yoga of the materials around. It's a knowledge stream which is discussing about the artha, the possibilities and application of the materials around. Even to that extent, we can go. Okay, fine. Then in the next sloka, so this Jagatyeva manaushadham na kinjit vidyate dravyam vasannanarthayogayoho. So generally during some lectures or speech, we often listen to this quote. Only that first half will be explained. Jagatyeva manaushadham, you know, Ayurveda explains that Jagatyeva manaushadham. Wrong. That is an incomplete statement. Jagatyeva manaushadham na kinchit vidyate dravyam. Even that is not complete. Only when that condition even is exposed or explained, then only it is becoming a full statement. Jagatyeva manaushadham na kinchit vidyate dravyam vashan nanarthayogayo. Then our next sloka. Here, as I mentioned earlier, the Sharira and the Aushadha, we are trying to connect them. Now, this exercise started with explaining the Panchabhautikata of the Dravyas. Sharira is also Panchabhautika. So that way the Karanam for the Dravyam and the Shariram same. So there is a homogeneity. Now, the author is trying to connect the artha, the potential of a dravya with its panchabhautikata, so that the yoga, the prayoga can be easier. The next sloka we find Dravyam urdhvagamam tatra prayogni pavanolkadam adhogami cha bhuyishtham bhumitoya gunadhikam. Dravyam urdhvagamam tatra prayogni pavanolkadam adhogami cha bhuyishtham bhumitoya gunadhikam. What is told? We will see. Tatra urdhvagamam dravyam prayah agnipavanolkadam. Tatra urdhvagamam dravyam prayah agnipavanolkadam. Similarly, adhogami dravyam prayah adhogami dravyam prayah or bhuishtham bhumitoya gunadhikam. Bhumitoya gunadhikam. Now let us see what is observed and documented. Tatra urdhvagamam dravyam prayah agnipavanolkadam. Tatra, among these dravyas, what we were discussing so far and what we mentioned or made some sort of a statement, a categorical statement that Jagatyevam anaushadham na kinchit vidyate dravyam vasannanarthayogayoho. Among those dravyas, urdhvagamam dravyam, a dravya which is urdhvagama, prayah, generally agnipavanolkadam, is Agni Pavana predominant in its Bhuda configuration is Agni Pavana Utkadam. Similarly, Adhogami Dravyam Bhuishtham Bhumitoya Gunadhikam. A Dravya which is Adhogami mainly or generally or most often is Bhumi Toya predominant. Bhumi Jala predominant. This is the observation. So Urdhvagama Dravyam, Adhogama Dravyam. Or Urdhvagami Dravyam, Adhogami Dravyam. Urdhvagami, one which moves upward, or one which makes move upward. Adhogami, one which moves downward, or one which makes move up downward. Chikitsa is divided into different categories. Mainly Shodhanam Shamanam. Shodhanam Shamanam Chedi Samasad Aushadham Dvitha. So Aushadham is of two types. And this Shodhanam is divided into two categories. Shodhanam Dvividham Urdhvagamam Adhogamam Cha. That is what we were mentioning here. Shodhanam Dvividham Urdhvagamam Adhogamam Cha. Tatra, what is Urdhvagamam? Tatra Doshaharanam Urdhvabhagam Vamana Sapnyagam Adhobhagam Virejana Sapnyagam. So we have Urdhvagam Aushatham or Dravyam and Adhogami Dravyam can be understood as Vamana Kara Dravyam and Virejana Kara Dravyam. And what is observed? Generally, a Vamana Dravya is Agni Vayu Pradhanam, Agni Vayu predominant. Virejana Dravya is generally is Bhumi Jala predominant. Bhumi Jala predominant. So this is a general rule. For any general rule, there can be apavada, exceptions. That is why it is told as prayaha, bhuishtham, most often, generally, by and large, these sort of phrases. So what we observe here about Urdhvagama Dravya, with all this understanding, we can list it out. Number one, Vamana Dravyas are Agni Vayu Atmaga. That is the general rule. Example, Madana Bhalam. Example, Madana Bhalam. 2. But, exception. But all Vamana Dravyas need not be Agni Vayu Atmaga. That is why it is told Prayaha. Prayogni Pavanorkadam. Taking a lead from the Praya, we can find that all Vamana Dravyas need not necessarily be Agni Vayu Atmaga. Example, Madhugam. Then take a twist. All Agni Vayu Atmaga Dravyas need not work as Vamana Dravya. All Agni Vayuatmaga Dravyas need not be Vamana Dravyas. Example, Maricham. Fourth inference. Some Agni Vayu Atmaga Dravyas can even be Virejana Dravyas. Some Agni Vayu Atmaga Dravyas can even be Virejana Dravyas. Example, Dandi. Similarly, about the Adhogami Dravyas, the first assumption is that Virejana Dravyas generally are Bhumitoya predominant. Maybe simply you take the example of milk, Shira. Number two assumption. But all Virejana Dravyas need not be Bhumitoya predominant. Example, Trivrit. Assumption 3. All Bhumi Jala predominant Dravyas are not Virejanakara. Take the example of Thailam or some other example. But the fact is, all Bhumi Jala predominant Dravyas need not be Virejanakara. Assumption 4. Some Bhumi Jala predominant Dravyas can even be Vamanakara. Example again, Madhugam or some other examples you can make. These are the assumptions. So when we look into these assumptions, 4 assumptions about both Udbhagama Dravya and Adhogama Dravya, like generally the Urdhvagama Dravyas are Agnivayu predominant, but all Agnivayu predominant drugs are not Vamanakaras. We can assume that the combination in terms of involvement of other bhutas in this regard, that is very important. Similarly, the distribution of the gunas in a particular dravya also can be critical. Same is the case with Virejana Dravya. The Agni and Vayu generally makes a Dravya Agneya. And in such a Dravya, obviously, Tikshna, Ushna, Gunas will be quite prominent. Similarly, the presence of or the prominence of Bhumi and Jala makes a Dravya Saumya, and definitely Mridu, Shita Gunas will be very evident. But what about the other Gunas? So their presence, their predominance their distribution pattern, all these things are definitely decisive as far as this urdhagama property or adhogama property of a dravya is concerned. It is very interesting to note at this point the explanation given by Sangraha Vakbhada, how a Virejana Dravya is working. He documents, he observes. Tatra Ushna Tikshna Sukshma Vyavai Vigashini Aushadhani. Repeat. Tatra Ushna Tikshna Sukshma Vyavai Vigashini Aushadhani स्ववीर्येण हृदयम् उपेत्य सौक्ष्म्याद् व्यवायित्वाच्च धमनीरनुसृत्य स्नेहेन मृदूकृत्य अन्तःशरीरे स्वेदोष्मणा आर्द्रदारुवद् विष्यन्ने स्थूलाणुस्रोतोभ्यः सकलमपि दोषसङ्घातम् औष्ण्याद् पुनर्विष्यन्दयन्ति तैक्ष्ण्याद् विकाशित्वाद् च विच्छिन्दयन्ति सः विष्यन्नविच्छिन्नः दोषसङ्घातः पारिप्लवः स्नेहाक्तभाजनस्थ इव उदगाञ्जलिः असज्जन् अनुप्रसरणभावाद् आमाशयम् अनुगम्य उदानप्रणुन्नः अग्निवायुवात्मकत्वाद् ऊर्ध्वभागप्रभावाद् च औषधस्य ऊर्ध्वं प्रवर्तते सलिलपृथिव्यात्मकत्वाद् अधोभागप्रभावाच्च औषधस्य अधः उभयतः च उभयगुणात्मकत्वाद् उभयभागप्रभावाद् च वमनविरेचनविधि संग्रह सूत्रम्. I am sure that nobody will be able to follow the long text which I read out just by listening. So please refer it comfortably later. It is very important observation. I will sum up what he has documented. Number one, all Virejana Dravyas in general are seen to have certain characteristics. Ushna, Tikshna, Sukshma, Vyavayi, Vikashi. That is what we find as documented by Sangraha Vakbhada. And interestingly, these gunas, when we search further, can be seen as possessed by Agni, Vayu and Akasham. Such dravyas or the virya of such dravyas reaches the hridaya, and using the or by virtue of the sukshma vyavayi gunas, they extract the dosha sanghada from all the srotases and make it further cleaner due to the ushna guna, and push it down due to the tikshna vikashi gunas, and that dosha sanghada loses its grip in the srotas and start flowing down to reach amashaya. So this is a common procedure in all types of, both the types of shodhana. So this up to this can be considered as the first phase of the shodhana. Then the dosha sanghada which has reached the amashaya, when it is influenced by the udana vayu, it tends to move upward, and to that tendency the strength of the aushadha is added. It is not just about the Agni Vayu Atmakata of the Dravya, but another Prabhava. What is that Prabhava? Urdhva Bhaga Prabhava. So altogether, it facilitates the Vamana Karma. So if a Dravya, even though it is Ushna Tikshna, Agni Vayu Atmaka, if it does not possess the Urdhva Bhaga Prabhava, it fails to induce Vamana. That is why the exception we found. All Agni Vayu Atmaka Dravyas need not necessarily induce Vamana. Similarly, if the dosha sanghada in the amashaya that has reached the amashaya is not get into the influence of udana, but it moves further down and reaches the pakvashaya, then further influenced by the prithvi jala nature of the chodhana dravya, along with its adhobhaga prabhava, virejana happens. Again, here the adhobhaga prabhavam, the word used is prabhavam. Adhobhaga prabhava is decisive. If a dravya does not possess that prabhava, it cannot cause virejana even if it is prithvi jala pradhana. So in Shodhana Chikitsa, along with the Bhuta predominance, the Prabhava or the Virya of the Dravya is very, very important. An Agnivayu Atmaka Dravya without Urdhva Bhaga Prabhava fails to cause Vamana. A Dravya which possesses Urdhva Bhaga Prabhava but not Agnivayu Atmaka can induce Vamana, can cause Vamana. Similarly, a Prithvi Ambu predominant Dravya having no Adhobhaga Prabhava fails to cause Virejana. A Dravya with Adhobhaga Prabhava but not Prithvi Jala Pradhana succeeds in causing Virejana. So this understanding will help us in understanding the dravyas which are listed under the exceptions. I hope the listeners are getting something, some idea about a very complex subject. So apart from the predominance of a bhuta, the way in which that particular bhuta is distributed inside a dravya and the relation that is existing between the different bhutas within a dravya are all going to be very critical in deciding the nature of that particular dravya. And here, interestingly, the distribution of these bhutas within a dravya is the duty of Vayu bhuta. We have seen it in detail in our beginning. Agnipavana nabhasam samavayataha tannirbrittir visheshascha. So in the Dravya Nishpatti, even though Prithvi is the Adhisthana, Jala is the Yoni, Vayu has got a very prominent role. Very prominent role. Rasavaisheshika documents this predominance in a very beautiful statement. Satvabhisamskara vagbheda bhuta sankshoba nimittaha vayureva balavan. So that role of Vayu, which decides the distribution pattern of bhutas within a dravya, that is going to be very, very important. Dandi is Tikshnoshna, but it is Virechana. To make it Virechana, it has got a unique property called Saraguna. So that Saragunam is predominating in Dandi and it causes Virechana in spite of its Tikshnoshna, Agneya or Agni Vayuatmaga nature. In spite of its Agni Vayuatmaga nature. So this sort of an understanding is very, very crucial. So generally, in all situations where we think about the Shodhana Chikitsa, two terms come to our mind, that is Tikshnam and Mrudu, isn't it? Tikshna Shodhanam, Mrudu Shodhanam. Vadasyopakramasnehas Sweda Samshodhanam Mrudu Samshodhanam. Whereas in the case of Kabha, it shifts to Shleshmano Vidhina Yuktam Tikshnam Vamanarejanam. Tikshna Vamanarejanam. So, what are the decisive factors which makes a Vamana or a Shodhana Tikshna or a Shodhana Mritu? So, we have seen what Vagbhata explained about the Shodhana procedure, and we mentioned that it has two phases. Number one is to bring the things to the Amashaya in a prepared body and then deciding to which way the evacuation is going to happen. That is the second part. So a dravya or a prayoga which can intervene in both these stages, stage 1 and stage 2, can be generally named as a Tikshna Shodhanam. Whereas a Dravya which can focus only in the second phase of the Shodhana is generally, can be considered, this is a proposal, can be considered as Mridu Shodhana. Chadurangulo Mridu Virejananam. So that means that it is a Virejana Dravya, but don't expect this Chadurangula to do all the functions which were happening in the first phase of the Virejana, in the Srotas level. Whereas Snukpaya, Tikshna Virejananam, Snukpaya is a potential material which can work in both the phases of operation. So here these words Mridu and Tikshnam is not limited to the Shakti, power and speed, Vegada, but also the depth of action. So here also there is an element of yoga, isn't it? Whether to use a, see, we find that, okay, Mridu Samshodhanam or Tikshnam Vamana Rejanam. So when you are planning a Shodhana Chikitsa, there is a yukti, whether I am going to use a Tikshna Virejanam or a Mridu Samshodhanam. All these are depending upon these points what we were explaining. We can find the reflections of these ideas in many situations. Kabhe tikshnoshna kadugaihi pitte swadu himairivi vamet snigdham lalavanai samsrishte maruda kabhe or kashaya madhurai pitte virekaha kadugaihi kabhe snigdhoshna lavanair vayu. In all these things, we find a sort of a thought process to regulate this Mridu Tikshna concept. This Mridu Tikshna concept. You can find examples, say, Svinnam cha bhojayedannam snigdham anubhajairasaihi. Kasa chikitsa. Dadhyuttarena va dadhyad tadosmai vamanam mridu. Dadhyad tadosmai vamanam mridu. So here the vamanam is not supposed to be a vamanam which can work in the whole set of srotas. It is not intended, but it is a shallow, less deep. Only confined to the level of amashaya alone. That much is intended. Similarly, we can find many examples. Again, all the authors have tried to explain this. All the authors. Tatra agnimarudatmakam dravyam prayena urdhvabhagigam tayoho लाघवाद ऊर्ध्वगतित्वाच्च अग्नेः प्लवनत्वाच्च मारुतस्य भूम्य उदगात्मकं तु प्रायेण अधोभागिकं तयोर्गौरवाद निम्नगतित्वाच्च तोयस्य. Another context of in Sangraha. Looking into Charaka, we will find all these things are attributed to rasa. Tatra agnimarudatmakaः rasaः प्रायेण ऊर्ध्वभाजः Salila prithivyaatmagastu rasaha prayena adhobhajaha. But Vagbhada beautifully edited it. He took it from the account of Rasa and credited it to the account of Dravya. Similarly, the stress in the style of explanation, that is also changed and gave some more clarity. Maybe I think Sushruta, so Ashtanga Hridaya or Vagbhada took this style from Sushruta. Sushruta is the guru to Vagbhada in this idea. If you look into the Sushruta Sutra 41st chapter, you can find this. Tatra virejana dravyani पृथिव्यम्बु गुणभूयिष्ठानि पृथिव्यापो गुर्व्यः तानि गुरुत्वाद् अधो गच्छन्ति तस्माद् विरेजनम् अधो गुणभूयिष्ठम् अनुमानाद् वमनद्रव्याणि अग्निवायुगुणभूयिष्ठानि अग्निवायु हि लघु लघुत्वाच्च तानि ऊर्ध्वमुत्तिष्ठन्ति तस्माद् वमनमपि ऊर्ध्वगुण भूयिष्ठम. Sushrutam 41st chapter in Sutrasthana. Similarly, so here we found that okay, Vamanam and Virechanam is explained, but there are many other approaches. We have to discuss about Shamana Chikitsa. In the Shamana Chikitsa itself, there can be sub classifications. All these things are also to be seen with the concept of what is explained so far. That we will find in our next session. It's almost 9. Again, I would say that just by listening this talk offhand, I think everything will be just passing above the head. Nothing will get into the stuff. So I would recommend to go through the concerned texts, the related texts, and do some sort of a serious reading of the content, and then work on it. Then only the idea will be clearer. So thank you for patient listening, and I think we can stop here.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I think with this we will end our today's session and meet on next Thursday. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Shubharatri to all.
Shubharatri. Shubharatri. Thank you.